Hello, welcome back to another live. If you're new here, hi, my name is Laken and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I am live again from yet another space, but potentially our forever space. I'm still unsure about it, y'all. If you have been following along, we moved into a new house. We bought a house and I don't have an office, but I now have a desk set up in my office section of our bedroom. As you can see behind me is the bed and the curtains. And I closed the curtains because there was a lot of backlight and it looked funny, but now I really don't like the way that looks. I also have been thinking, sorry, we are just jumping right in with me talking about things. I think I need another set of curtains because in my mind they were wide enough, and they are. Like, for sleeping purposes, it's fine, but it looks silly. Like, in reality, each of those windows needs two panels to look right in curtain land. So I don't know. We'll see. If I twist you, the other way, then you see my entire bed, and I don't want that either. So I haven't quite figured it out. I could also, I know I said this last week, I could go back downstairs onto the dining room table and just have the living room to myself from 12 to 1. But I don't know. I like being in here with the door shut. I don't know. I like it. So, especially because it's definitely lunchtime. Like, if Sam needs to go down there and have lunch, I'm in the living space. So I like the curtains. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And I could also I don't know if I want to put something on this wall because it's our bedroom. It's not just my office. I like the curtains too. All right. Well, thank you guys. You're making me feel better. Do you feel like I need another set though? In proper curtain land. It would also look better when they're open. If I had another set, instead of just curtains to one side, there'd be curtains on either side. Again, proper curtain etiquette. I don't know. Okay. Let's start with our first question that we always start with, which is, what is one small win that you have to share? If you're here live, please say hello in the chat and let us know what your win is. And if you're part of the replay fam, please share it in the comments. My win, I already referenced, is that I set up my new desk. So you are sitting on my new desk. That is my new home. I'm actually vlogging it this week, so I'll show that in a couple of weeks. You'll see it in a vlog, and I'm really excited to have this space to myself. It just feels good to be settled back in. Also, another win, which I also vlogged about already, but sneak peek, it's decaf cold brew. No, I'm not pregnant. I just am trying to drink less caffeine in general. But Stock, STOK, the cold brew brand that I have had cold brew at home before many a time, now makes a decaf version. It's tough to find. It's really tough to find. But yum. It's so good. And I love that I don't have this extra boost of caffeine that I don't need. I don't need it. I had a good night's sleep. I had caffeine this morning. I want coffee to sip on while we hang out, but I don't need it to have caffeine. Oh my goodness. Jennifer, I purchased bus and boat tour tickets for London and Paris. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to hear all about your trip. Organized January receipts, got your car unstuck. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that you got stuck, but I'm glad that you got it unstuck. That is definitely a win. You finished a book. That is an awesome win. Always a great win. I love hearing about all of the progress that you're making. Finished 2 books. So much progress, so much reading progress since the last time that we hung out. All right, while we're talking about progress, let's do my monthly goals check-in. Doesn't need to be that big. So here is my goal check-in, goal progress. In terms of one-time steps, this is as far as it's going to get. I'm filming my goals video today, and I'm basically letting go of everything else on this list from the one-time step standpoint. I mean, it's just not going to happen, and it is what it is. And so I'm just here to remind you that if your month look different than you originally intended, that happens. Like, some months, not necessarily that they go exactly to plan, but there are just months where nothing super unexpected pops up. Maybe a couple low energy days here and there, but nothing drastic. And that's not what happened in February for me. And so the one-time steps were not a priority. In terms of the weekly steps, creative time has not been going well. I'm going to switch that up a little bit for March to tackle it differently. Workouts have been going well. Last week they did not, clearly, but this week they have been going well. And then in terms of my daily steps, it's kind of been the same. Some days are good and some days aren't. And I'm focusing on the check marks and not what's not getting checked off. but hopefully, no, it's February 19th. And there's still, February is the shortest month, but there's still a whole week left of February. Like we could still make so much progress on our goals. So I want you, maybe I'm talking to myself a little bit here, not to give up on those goals. So decluttered my closet, got your joint bank account. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Jamie. We did not do that. We still don't have a joint bank account. I love it. Okay. One quick housekeeping thing before we move into the topic for today. Next week's live is going to be on Tuesday. So here's the February calendar, which I shared at the beginning of February. Like you would have seen this already. But I have a conflict on Wednesday, and it's something that I could only schedule on Wednesdays. Like it's only available to do on Wednesdays. And so the live just had to get moved. So it is going to be on Tuesday instead of Wednesday, and it's going to be later than it normally is. Now, I know for some of you, you joined during your lunch hour, and so that's not going to be feasible for you. And I'm super sorry, and I hope that you could just be replay fam, because next week's topic is really good and something that I get asked about a lot, which is to-do lists versus goals. It's a really common topic. So I'm hoping that more of you will be able to join next Tuesday, but it is going to be a little bit later than normal and on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. So appreciate your flexibility. I almost consider just like not having a live next week, but again, that topic I think is really helpful and important. So any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts on that before I move on? I wish I put a little bit more ice in this, because I can tell my ice is already like dwindling. And I feel like by the time I get to a certain point, it's not going to be as cold as I want it to be. It is so good though, y'all. And I feel like I can enjoy it slower, because when I get like a caffeinated coffee for the live, I feel like I need to be done with it by a certain time. And so I drink it faster and I don't like savor it as much. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to talk about one-time steps? So where is my, sorry, I noticed a typo. Okay. So this month, we are focusing on coming up with action steps, because I know that is something that so many people struggle with, is breaking down their goals and figuring out what their action steps could be. I'm not going to say what they should be, because there is no right or wrong answer to action steps, but what could they be? What are they? And examples of them. And so the last 2 weeks we did one-time steps and then weekly steps. So if you haven't checked those out, I would definitely recommend checking those out. You don't need to watch them in any particular order, but all 3 of them are very helpful in their own regards. So last, but certainly not least, today we are talking about daily steps. And these are the ones that most of us are pretty good at coming up with. We can think of things, oh, I want to do this every day. I want to do this every day. But we're really bad at implementing them. We're really bad at the follow through on the daily steps. And I think you know why. I think you know what I'm going to say. The number one reason that we struggle is that they're too big, and that we are trying to do way too much. Most goal planners, I say most, the main goal planners that are out there have 6 daily step options, right? Mine has 6 daily step options. Most of the other main goal planners have 6 options. If you had 6 daily steps and they each take 5 minutes, which 5 minutes doesn't sound like a whole lot, that's 30 minutes of your day, which is a good chunk of your day. 30 minutes is a big chunk. If I asked you to find 30 free minutes in your day every single day, you would probably look at me funny and be like, there's no way I can do that. So keep that in mind, that when you're picking daily habits, even if they are as small as 5 minutes, they add up. They add up. And so my guess is that you aren't following through with them because you have too many and they're too big. So when you're considering your daily steps, I want you to be picky. I want you to pick daily steps that are super important to you. I want you to pick daily steps that are related to the most important goal on your list. I want you to be picky when it comes to them. And I also want you to make them smaller. But let's start with, before we talk about follow through, let's start with the types of daily steps, right? What are our options in terms of daily action steps? So it could be a further breakdown of a monthly or a weekly goal, right? We've been using reading as a goal every single week as an example. So let's say you have a quarterly goal, right? We can go back even further, right? You have a quarterly goal to read 12 books. You have a monthly goal to read 4. You have a weekly goal to read 1 book. How many minutes of that are you going to need to read per day in order to hit that weekly goal of 1 book? The numbers here vary greatly based on how big of a book you're reading or listening to, listening counts, and how fast you read or listen to books, right? If you listen to them at a faster speed, etc. But it could just be a breakdown. I am a big supporter of you having your goals in more than one of these sections. I know I said this the last 2 weeks and I'm saying it again, just in case you didn't hear me. You can have a goal in literally all 3 sections. I don't have a good example of this here. I have some that are in more than one section, so I crossed it off, but finished program originally was related to working out, and so workouts and finished program are one and the same. And then the vegetables are in both sections, but you can have it in all 3. You can have something in the one-time step, the weekly step, and the daily step, because there may be times that you hit it in one of the areas and not the other, right? So let's continue with this reading example. You have a monthly goal to read 4 books, a weekly goal to read 1 book, and you determine that that's about 30 minutes a day of reading for you. And so when you are checking it off, we're going to talk a little bit about how, is 30 minutes a day reading really feasible for you? But regardless, for this example's purpose, you have it in your daily section to read 30 minutes a day. So let's say on any given week, you check it off 5 out of the 6 days or 7 days. So there's 2 days that you didn't check it off, but that happened to be a shorter book. So you still check off the weekly section. Now, let's say the next week you do 4 of the 7 days. And so you don't finish a book. And so in that weekly section, you don't check it off. But then the next week you read all 7 of 7 days. And you read 2 books, you finish 2 books. So not only do you get the weekly section, but then you're much more likely to hit that monthly section. Does that make sense? So you're getting those check marks in different places. And again, if you're somebody who's not motivated by check marks, maybe this isn't a scenario for you, but I find that most of us are. Now, your daily step could be a habit that you eventually want to implement and take off your list, right? It could be something that you're putting down as a daily habit that you don't want to ever stop. Okay. For example, drinking my water. This is something I don't ever want to stop. I want to hit my water goals all the time. And I don't want to be thinking about them as water goals, right? I just want to be thinking about them as drinking water and drinking the right amount of water for my body and my needs. And so a very common question that I get is, how do I know when I'm ready to take the habit off my goal tracker? How do I know when I'm ready to just do it and not have to track it anymore? And I wish there was a magic formula, y'all. I wish I could tell you when you're doing it this percent of the time or whatever it is. There is no right answer. It's going to be unique to your individual goals and your individual ability to do things. What's that phrase? I can't think of what the phrase is, where it's like your ability to do adult type things. Some of us have we all have different abilities to do different ones, right? For some people, certain things just happen automatically. You don't even have to think about it. And for other people, those things are tough and vice versa. And so I can't give you a magic formula here. What I can tell you is once you start to figure this out for yourself, you'll know when it feels right. So it may be a percent that feels right to you, or when you feel like you're just doing it without the accountability of the goal sheet, then it might feel right to take it off. And the good news, you can always add it back on if you need to. If you take, you've seen me do this over the years. I have, by the way, shared my goal progress like this for almost, I think we're heading into I think this is the 7th year that I will have shared goals. I think 2019 is the first year I shared my annual goals. And 21, 22, 23, 24, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, yeah, 25. Then we're going into our 7th year. You have seen me take things off and add things back on so many times, right? My water will be consistent, and then I'll take it off and be like, I feel dehydrated. I know I'm not drinking enough water, and I'll put it back on. And you can always do that. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that different seasons of life, you're going to be better at doing things and not doing things. The other thing to remember when it comes to your habits is you can always change things about how you do it or when you do it. Just because it's a habit doesn't mean it has to be the same way forever, right? So maybe you put something on your tracker and you say that, I'm going to read. Let me give you a good example. I'm going to do my gratitude journaling every morning as part of my morning routine. And so you have it on there, gratitude, and you start doing it and you check it off. And then after a while, it feels good. You're doing it without even thinking about the habit tracker. So you stop and you continue to do it. And then all of a sudden you stop doing it. And so you think to yourself, well, why is it not working? And so you add it back on thinking that the habit tracker is going to help. And it doesn't. You find that putting it back on the habit tracker still didn't solve the problem. Maybe something needs to change about it. Maybe you need to try it at a different time of day with a different reminder or some other tweak about the habit to make it a habit again. Sometimes just putting it on the habit tracker isn't enough. And there's something about the habit that doesn't work. There are times when I put water as my water goal and I need to find other ways to make sure I'm getting in my water. One of those, I'm literally just spitballing examples to you, but one of those is that I don't get to have a second cup of anything fun. I really don't get to have let me try this again. I hate when it's alive and I wish I could restart my sentence like I do when I'm filming. I don't get to have a secondary fun or any sort of additional fun drink until I've finished a cup of water. Now, that doesn't count for my first cup of coffee. Okay. I need coffee first thing in the morning to function. So I have my first cup of coffee. I don't get a second cup of coffee or a tea, any kind of fun drink until I've at least finished one thing of water. Then I don't get any kind of evening fun drink until I've at least finished 2 of my waters. Now, my goal is to get 3. And I'm getting better at it. You can see, right? I'm getting better at getting my 3 in, but it's not consistent. But at least I know that those are my rules, that I don't add more liquid to my body without hitting my water first. Another thing I always try to do is if I'm close to being done when I'm having a meal or I'm in the kitchen, I will just chug it to finish it and be I'm already in here and now I can fill it up again. So little tweaks that you might need to change how you do habits in order to stick with them. Now, maybe your daily steps are just temporary, right? It's not a habit that you want to do forever. It's something that you're doing now just to help you with whatever the goal is that you're doing, right? I had packing on my daily section when I've had December daily on my daily section. Those are some examples of things I wanted to do every day or almost every day, but not because I want to do them forever, because I want to do them temporarily. Something else to note when it comes to your daily steps is it doesn't have to be every day. But maybe it's something that you want to track how many you're doing per week and you're putting it in the daily section. So I talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about weekly, but that's how I'm doing vegetables, right? So I vegetable my daily section. In an ideal world, I'm getting at least, in an ideal world, I'm getting way more, right? Don't come at me with your vegetable judgment. I know some of you totally relate to me. In an ideal world, I'm getting multiple servings of vegetables every day. Right now, I'm working towards 1 per day. And then my weekly goal is 7 per week. It doesn't have to be 7. It could be less, right? I could be tracking my daily, but my weekly goal could be 3. It could be less than the total number of days. Or it could be more, right? That would be my next level up, by the way, which I talked about last week, that my daily vegetable may stay at 1 and I may up my weekly to 10. Spoiler alert, I'm not doing that for March because I'm not ready for that. But I may up it to 10. My sister does this with workouts, right? I have my workout in my weekly section as 3 different lines. What she does is put in the weekly section, workout X number of times, whatever her goal is for that month. And then she has it in the daily section so she can see exactly how many days that she did it. The number 1 tip I want you to remember when it comes to your daily steps is to start with where you're at. I mean, actually, this applies to all of your goals, but especially with your daily steps. If you're going to do something every single day or most days, I want it to be such a small increment, such a small improvement. And I understand that it can be tough and you're but I'm not going to see change if I only make a small improvement. First off, you will. But second off, that's not the point. The point is that you are proving to yourself that you can do it. And so you need to start with where you're at. If all you're doing right now, right, I told you my water goal was 3 of these, but that's because most days I get 2 to 2.5 without even trying. So 3 is that little bit of push. If you are getting, let's say, a half of one of these, and that's how much water you're drinking on a regular basis, your daily step could be 1, but not more than that. Start really, really small. going back to that reading example of 30 minutes, right? That's a lot. 30 minutes a day of reading is a lot. Now, if what you're doing now is 20 and then you want to up it to 30, that is an option. If what you're doing now is 0, 30 is a lot. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 1% improvement. Now, some things are easy to quantify and you can figure out what a 1% improvement is, and some things are really tough to figure out what is a 1%. So I just want you to do your best. But this is when I don't have this as a pop-up, but I remind you this all the time. Putting down a routine on the daily step is a huge jump. A routine is a group of action steps. So if you put down, I'm going to do my morning routine, well, how many steps is that? Start with 1. Start with where you're at and then add a little bit more. And then I hate to break it to you, but you're going to miss days. There is rarely a scenario that you are going to have something that you do every single day all the time. Even one of you, when we did the last 100-day challenge, there was one of you who did it 99 out of 100 days. That's amazing. That is amazing. Crushing it. They still missed one day. And I'm not saying that to that is freaking amazing, right? The highest percentage of anybody. Nobody did 100 is my point. Nobody did 100 because that's not life. Things happen, life happens, and you will miss days. And you just have to push and keep going. One of the best tips I ever saw that I do try to implement myself is if you have a daily habit, something you're trying to do every day, try not to miss 2 days. Now, I can't pretend I'm perfect, right? I should just leave this up because I keep talking about it. Momentum is real. And so when you miss 2 days, it's harder to get back on that momentum train, but you will miss days. If you can, make it even smaller. I would rather you have something so small that feels so silly to you. Like, I can't believe I'm putting this down on a piece of paper because it's so small and so silly that you actually do than something that feels good or big or right or whatever that you don't follow through on, right? So if you can, try making it even smaller. You've also heard me say this before, but I want to say it again. No more than 1 brand new item per month. That's my recommendation. There are no rules in goal setting. You get to do your goals however you want. You can break this rule if you want. But my suggestion is always that you stick with only 1 brand new item per month. Because if you try to do more than 1, you're more likely than not going to do none of them. So I would rather you do 1 habit really well. When we talked about routines, we did a whole series on routines last year in August, July sometime. I'll link it. And one of the things I talked about there is I would rather, October, November, I think it was July, because what I said was, I would rather you start now and start with 1 action step every month for the last 5 months of the year and go into the new year with a solid 5-step morning routine than to start a 10-step morning routine on August 1st that you only follow through half of August and then you quit, right? No more. If you can, prioritize it. Brand new item per month. All right, last generic daily habit, daily action step commentary. Some goals won't have them. Some goals, it just doesn't fit. And we're going to go into examples and you will see that some examples or some of the goals don't have a lot because there's just not that many. So don't feel bad if you don't have it. I mean, you can see this here, right? 2 of my goals don't have a daily step. So don't force it. It doesn't have to happen. Okay. All right, let's go into the examples. Remember, these are just ideas. These are suggestions, examples from you, like the community on your exact goals. And I'm not saying these are the things that you have to do to be successful with these goals. These are just ideas. And I hope that it just sparks something for you. So we're going to start with finance. So here are some daily action step ideas for finance. Track unplanned spending. I like the specificity there. Track daily expenses, check bank balances, no spend in certain categories, and wait a day before purchasing. I like that one. The next category is home. So do a 5-minute tidy, have daily cleaning tasks, which again, this particular one by itself is huge. I don't know how many tasks they were talking about, right? I just took this verbatim. Let's say you have 5 daily tasks that you'd like to do every day, cleaning wise. I think one of those cleaning books, I think she has like 5 things to do every day. It's like shine your sink and something else. I don't know what they are. Regardless, um, don't start them all on day one. That's not how it's going to work. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and just like do all of them on day one. You're going to start with one. And then maybe once you have added them all, then the action step can be to do all of them. Don't leave a space worse than I found it. I love that. Put away 5 things, a 5-minute declutter, reset the kitchen. Don't buy anything new. Package an item that's sold right away. Next category is health. You can see that there's a lot in this one, right? There are a lot of, this is one of those goals. I mean, heck, that's what 3 of my 4 are, right? This is one of those goals that lends itself to a lot of daily habits. So no snooze button, go for a walk, check in with your accountability buddy, meal plan for the day, log macros, hit your step goal. There's a typo here. 1 fruit or veggie per day. I kind of like the idea of it being fruit or veggie. I feel like I'm good at getting fruit in though, because Lila eats a lot of fruit. So I just like eat fruit with her. Track food, go to bed at a certain time, hit a water goal, get outside, track blood sugar, track hours slept, close Apple Watch rings, stretch, eat a salad, eat a filling breakfast, hit a protein goal, hit a fiber goal, no snacking. That's impressive. Take vitamins and PT exercises. Last category is personal, and this is just a catch-all for every other suggestion that anyone sent about daily. So check Indeed, someone applying for jobs, work on an online course, plan for the next day, write, read, wake up at a certain time, Duolingo, pray, AM routine, morning routine, but I'm going to hammer home again. If you're going to put routine on a daily step, it better be a routine that you're already doing and you're just like solidifying it. If you are starting a brand new routine, one step at a time. Check in on family members, meditate, check in with goals, and prep food for the day. I guess that could have very much gone into health, but I don't know what the category they put is. Anyway, those are our examples. Hopefully there was something in there that like sparked either an idea for you or just a reminder that you needed in terms of daily habits. They can have such a positive impact on your goals because obviously doing a little something every day helps with your motivation and helps with your momentum. But it's hard. It's hard to do something every single day, and we're going to miss days, and that's going to be life. And I just want you to focus on doing your best. So any questions on this before we move on? Oh yeah, Fly Lady. That's what it's called. Thank you. When something becomes second nature and I do it without even thinking about it, I stop tracking it. Yep. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes you still end up having to put it back on. Some people can take it off sooner. Everybody's different. Rebel tendency, not motivated by check marks. This is tough when it comes to like daily things because it's hard to like reward yourself for doing something every single day. Couple of suggestions here. Number one, if we're talking about routines, there was a member of our community who's a rebel tendency. If you don't know what they're talking about, it's Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies. And one of them is a rebel where you just like don't want to be held accountable by anything or anyone and just go about life. And that can be tough when it comes to working on your goals. So one of the things that worked well for them was she had her morning routine and she would use a random number generator and do the order differently every day. So she had like 5 steps that were part of her morning routine. And every day she would, again, use a random number generator and it would tell her what order to do them in. And it would change. And so it added a little bit of like variety there. Another option, if you're not motivated by the daily check marks, could you be motivated by a summary of them? So for example, let's say you have a daily habit to read a certain number of minutes. If you do it X number of times over the course of the month, then you get to go to Barnes & Noble and buy a new book or something like that. The other big rebel tip in general with goals is to not tie yourself down to specifics and say like, I'm going to do this exact thing, but do something within a category. So let's say you want to spend more time being creative. You have a daily goal to do something creative, and then you have 5 choices that you get to pick from with whatever you're feeling that day instead of something exact. So hope some of those help. I don't know what tendency I am. There's a quiz if you're curious, but it's not necessary. But I get so bored and I love the random number generator idea. Yeah, you could use this for so many things. If you get bored or you suffer from decision fatigue, you can use random generators to make the decisions for you, right? It's there. You doing something is better than you doing it in the right order or right perfect, right? You know what I mean? Rebel tendency. You can't make me, and neither can I. Yeah, the tendencies pretty much are like you it's inner accountability and outer accountability, right? So somebody who has both inner and outer is an upholder. An obliger, it has outer, like you will hold yourself accountable to other people, but you won't hold yourself accountable to yourself. A questioner has inner accountability. You hold yourself accountable to yourself, but not to other people. And then a rebel is neither. They won't hold themselves accountable inner or outer. I use them for what book to read next all the time. And I actually think I might be a rebel. You might be. You might be. It's and it's tough. Goals when you have any of the tendencies all of the tendencies have their own struggle when it comes to goals. I thought I did a video on this. I know it's inside the course that I used to sell. But do I have an actual video on this topic, like tendencies and goals? You know what would be cool? Do y'all remember when we went on our honeymoon, which was 2.5 years ago at this point, almost more than, I did videos about the Enneagram types, and I did an interview with 9 different people from all 9 different Enneagram types, which was really cool. We could do the same thing for the 4 tendencies. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Let me know down in the comments if that's something you'll be interested in. And maybe I will think about that. Once again, I said this at the beginning when I talked about the lack of caffeine. Not pregnant, just lowering my caffeine intake. I am always on the hunt for video series like that I could do in advance. That for like, if when I do have another baby, I could have like while I'm on maternity leave. So that, I know that's a long way away. You guys are like, yeah, that sounds cool. And you're like now. And I'm thinking, like next baby. But something, if there's other things like that, that we could do, like other, I guess what I'm saying is other categorizations of us. Like I don't like putting people into buckets either, but like different, or the Myers-Briggs types. The hard part about Myers-Briggs is that there's 16 of them, right? I'm not going to hit all 16 because that's a lot. But I have an idea of how I could tackle that and not have it be 16 and just do one video for each of the 4 categories, right? Introvert, extrovert, and then get people that are on the extremes. Because like for Myers-Briggs, I'm on the extreme for 2 of them. And then the other 2, I'm like literally 50-50 in the middle of it, which is so tough. I don't even remember what they all are at this point, but the extrovert one, I'm not on the extreme, but I'm pretty far over there. And then the last one, the planning one, shocker, I'm on the extreme. The other ones I'm like in the middle. Butterfly B, that's generally cleaning. Yeah, that one, I don't know what they all are, but my mom told me about this one because she told me she's a ladybug, which means that everything from the outside looks beautiful, but then you start opening up drawers and closets and it's chaos. That's my mom. My mom is a ladybug. Whatever one I am is that I am neat and tidy, even behind closets and doors, but things are not generally clean. Like I don't care like when things are clean, although I'm trying to be better about that. Not only because I love our new house and I want to keep it clean and nice, but also I have a severe dust allergy. So like dusting regularly would be very beneficial to my health. So I'm trying to be better. Yeah. If you guys think of any other categories like this, whether it's like a personality test or even just like, maybe it's working from home full time, stay-at-home mom, working out of the home full time, or something like that. like those kinds of categories. If you took my annual survey last summer, that I asked that question, like, do you work full-time or part-time? Do you work into the home or out of the home? Do you like, or are you a caretaker, whether it's kids, parents, siblings, etc.? The Clutterbug method. Okay, that's what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, stages of life, young kids, no kids, older kids, empty nest. That would be cool, I think. I think that would be really helpful for people. You guys got my gears turning right now. Okay. All right, that's it. That's all I have planned for you. We kind of already got off topic a little bit, but the rest of this time is yours. Where's the Q&A pop-up? Feel free to ask any questions, anything you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be about daily habits and actions. It can be about any questions that you have, your individual goals and struggles, something I've shared, a topic. If you don't know how to phrase it into a question, you could just put topic, insert whatever it is you want to chat about, or anything that's on your mind, anything that y'all want to chat. Yeah, transitioning between those changes too. That's true. It's hard, I think, in general, for any of us to accept that like your goals and habits and routines need to change. I mean, even just moving into the house, like I've had to change multiple things about my routine, given that my desk is next to where Sam sleeps. And given that, like things are 2 flights down. Like starting the laundry can't happen first thing. I mean, it can, but I'm not going down 2 flights of stairs just to start the laundry when I need to do everything up here first before I go down. You know what I mean? Ooh, I love this topic. Okay. How do you approach setting goals about sleep, looking at sleep being a Q2 focus with the time change and summer approaching? So, first things first, when we're going to talk about sleep, I have to mention the book, Why We Sleep. That book, I think, is so important to anybody who feels like they struggle with sleep. It's probably one of those books that I think is helpful for like literally everybody. But especially if it's something that you want to focus on. Now, the hard part, the one hang up that happens with that book is that he has these like his 12 recommendations for good sleep or something like that. I don't know if the number is exactly 12, but it's a pretty big number. There is no way that we are going to be good at all of those things. We're just not. We're not going to be good at all those things. But it gives you some ideas that you can. Sorry, I was reading the next comment, which I have thoughts on. It gives you some reading that book and looking at his, you can also probably just Google his like 12 recommendations for good sleep. But it gives you some ideas on action steps that you can take to improve your sleep. Like if there is one of those that you know that you do a bad job or a good job of, you can easily create it into an action step, right? Like one of his is getting sunlight by a certain time of day, right? One of them is screens off before a certain time, no caffeine a certain time, no alcohol a certain time. Like there's so many recommendations. And again, some of them, I'm never going to sit here and tell you I do all of them because I don't. But it does help me think about those things. So step one, that book or Google his things and use those, take those things and convert them into action step ideas. Number 2 is decide first whether you're going to focus on quantity or quality. Most of us, no, I'm not going to say that. There is no right answer in terms of which one you focus on first. I would start whichever one you think is easier for you. So if you are currently getting 6 hours and you want to be getting more, then start with quantity. If you are currently getting a decent amount and you just don't feel rested when you wake up, start with quality. So when it comes to quantity, right, you have 2 choices. It's either go to bed earlier or wake up later. And again, don't try to fix both. Pick one. Pick one of those things and then decide, am I going to push what time I wake up, or which for most people, it's not the scenario, but it's an option. Or am I going to start going to bed a little bit earlier? As always, because I already have it written on a thing, you're going to start with where you're at. You're not going to say, oh, I'm currently going to bed at 11. I'm going to start going to bed at 9. No, you're not. You're going to get in bed and you're going to lay there. If you're currently going to bed at 11, your new bedtime is 10:45. You work 15-minute increments, maybe even less if you want to start really small, but do not try and jump back hours in order to start getting more quantity of sleep. And then you could set goals in terms of like the time you go to bed, the number of hours that you are in bed, etc. Next, quality. So reading that book will help you with some of the action steps in terms of quality. Um, like all those different things that you can do. You could also measure your sleep, right? So I have my Oura ring, which I love. It's not inexpensive. So I'm not going to say like, oh, if sleep's a goal, like go buy an Oura ring. That's not necessarily the answer. But if you already have some sort of fitness device, a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, wearing that to sleep so that you can track your sleep. And then you could start to set some like quantifiable goals. You can see like, oh, I'm getting this many hours or this much quality, and then you can set goals from there. I actually have sleep obviously as a goal, and my goal this quarter or this month was just to hit a certain sleep score. Now the irony is like in reality that sleep score is out of my control, and that like there's not one thing I can do to make sure I wake up and that sleep score is above. There's a lot of factors that go into the sleep score on my ring. And so I know for sure going to bed at a certain time is one that I control. I know for sure not drinking impacts my sleep score. Those are the two big ones. The rest of them are all little things that add up. And so on the mornings that I've woken up and my sleep score was below the goal for the check mark, I've just thought about it. Like, what did I do yesterday that was maybe different that could have impacted it? And then I just kind of think about how like changes that I'm going to make going forward, and not big ones, but like getting the decaf coffee was like a little tweak that I could make so that I can sip on this until whatever time I want this afternoon and not feel like it's going to impact my sleep. And yeah, just like little things like that. So, I feel like I had one more thing and now I forgot what it was. I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful. And if anybody else has any thoughts on sleep, suggestions for Rachel, that if you've done it in the past. Yeah. Okay. And then this. I think we need a PDF of my nonfiction reads. I don't actually have that many. Here's the issue with it. I don't want to make this because I think most of the time, the book that you read for the nonfiction book that you read, I want it to be related to your individual goals, right? And I have recommendations for a lot of individual goals, but I don't, which I guess is that's what you're saying. I could make that, but I don't have blanket recommendations with the exception of my like The Lazy Genius, that one, The Lazy Genius Way, and Soundtracks by John Acuff. Those are like the two like generic ones. Otherwise, it's kind of like if you have a goal on sleep, read Why We Sleep. Otherwise, you don't need it. If you have a goal on decluttering, read Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Otherwise, you don't need it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Not even goal related, just generally ones that you've enjoyed. Oh, okay. We could see that on my Goodreads. Think about, yes, this is one of the 12. I think it's 12. Now I feel like I need to Google it. Hold on, my coffee. I'm going to knock it over if I leave it where it is. Let's see. Why We Sleep. Summary. Let's see. No, I thought it would be easier to find. Oh, here it is. Okay. 12 tips on sleep. We're just going to go through them really quick. Stick to a schedule. And again, ideal, yes. On the weekends, I don't do it. Don't exercise too late in the day. Avoid caffeine, avoid alcohol before bed, avoid large meals before bed, avoid medicines that delay or disrupt your sleep. Don't nap after 3 p.m. Make sure to leave time to relax before bed. Take a hot bath or shower before bed. Have a dark, cool, gadget-free bedroom. So much easier said than done. Those are the generic ones. So I think a good first step for me would be decide which device I'm going to trust because you have your watch and your Oura ring. Yes, it can be so tempting to double track. Pick one. Pick one that's going to be your focus for sleep. That way you have a baseline, right? So start with one and just go with that one and improving the numbers on that one. You mentioned loving the Oura ring for sleep. What about tracking steps? I find that mine is way off in steps compared to my Apple Watch. Tria, I had the same issue. I don't wear my Apple Watch anymore at all. I only wear my ring. And yeah, the steps are very different. Part of that is I think, well, let me take this back. When I first started wearing my ring, Lila was 6 weeks, maybe 8. She was little. She was a tiny baby. And so there were times I didn't sleep in my Apple Watch once I got my ring. And so there were lots of times in the middle of the night that I would be walking to Lila's room and back and, and so I always equated the difference to that, like all the times that I would wear my ring and not my watch in the shower, in the middle of the night, etc. I think it's just different. I think, I personally think the ring is more accurate than the watch. So I think this kind of very similar to what I just said about Rachel about picking one and using that as your baseline. Same thing. If you're going to track steps and you're going to set goals related to your steps, do not use both. You don't need both. You don't need to track both. Pick one. And if you want to wear both for different reasons, you could wear both. The only thing I miss about my Apple Watch is when someone texts me, being able to quickly go like this and see my text. Otherwise, like I don't miss my watch. But pick one and start there and use that as your baseline. And then if you want to increase it from there and don't worry about what the other one says. They're different devices. And one is like on your finger and measuring your temperature and your, they're both measuring your heart rate, but they're measuring them in different spots. It's just different. And so I think it's just like not worrying about how different they are. Coffee self-talk if you need motivation. Is this a book, Allie? I'm assuming it is. Gadgets off 30 minutes before sleep. Yeah, I wish I could say I do this, but I don't. I absolutely do not do this. And I still get pretty good sleep. But of the ones that I said, I do most of them, right? Like I do most of them. So, have you counted how many times you've gone up, down the stairs in a day? I have not. Does my watch, or I know that the watch did flights. I don't know if my ring does that. I don't think it does. I know it does total steps, but I don't think it does flights. It's a lot. 3 stories is a lot. There's a lot of stairs going on in my life now that I didn't used to have, but it's good. It's good for me. All right. I think I'm all caught up on comments. Any other questions on that, Rachel? I hope that was helpful. Sleep is a great goal. You will be so surprised how getting good sleep impacts your other goals. It's so tough, but it's so true. And coffee. Mm-hmm. I love coffee. What's on your mind? What else are you struggling with? What else do you need? I have a Fitbit, but I've considered a ring. However, I frequently have to sleep with lotion and gloves on my hand due to them being so dry. Worried about lotion or soap getting stuck under it. So I originally did like shower with mine because they say that you can. I have started taking it off to shower because it's just like, I don't need all the tracking all the time of all the things. So I've started taking it off. I do also put on hand lotion. So what I do is I will take it off. I will put on my hand lotion and then I have tissues and I will wipe. What I typically do, y'all, is I switch my ring for sleep. So I will take my wedding rings off. I'll take all my rings off. I'll put lotion on my hands. I will take the tissue and I will wipe off just the spot that the ring is measuring. And then I will put the Oura ring on my left hand. And that's how I sleep. So I have not had any issues. They say like sometimes if I notice the numbers are funky or it's not registering, I'll just go in there and like wipe it and keep it clean. But I haven't had any issues. So, and so many people I know love them. Like my in-laws is the reason I got them. It was so that's why I think Lila was 6 weeks. I ordered it when she was 6 weeks. I don't know how long it took to get there, because they came to visit when she was 6 weeks old, and um, they talked me into it. And now, like, my best friend and her husband have one, and like so many people I know love them. That's not inexpensive, but I like it way more than my watch. So, anything else? Do you keep it on while washing your hands too? Yeah. If it's just like a quick wash, I leave it on. If you guys have probably heard me talk about this before, I don't do dishes in our house. That's on Sam's list. But if he is out of town or for whatever reason, I am doing a big load of dishes, I will take it off to do that, like a lot of dishes. But if I'm doing just like one thing or just washing my hands, I leave it on. So sorry, my phone is exploding because it's when the kids go down for their nap at daycare is when they like update all the things, right? And they put all the pictures of what they had for lunch and they put the pictures of what the activities they did in the morning. So my phone is like blowing up with notifications from daycare. I am not going to lie. This is very off topic. I think the daycare apps are the biggest double-edged sword for those of you who have older kids and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, there's an app that they update me all day long on Lila's activities. They send pictures, they post videos, they post what she ate, how much she ate, every time they change her diaper, and obviously her nap. And it's so helpful and I love it. And I love seeing pictures of her. But at the same time, it's like that I'm constantly like, what's Lila up to on my phone? Which I feel like is good and bad. You know, whereas like, Ulta Human Ring is supposed to be just as good as the Oura Ring, but without the monthly subscription. I've never heard of this. Yeah, Oura does have a monthly subscription. It's very, everything is relative, right? I think it's $4, $5 a month. So in comparison to like, I don't know, the $40 Peloton one, it's a lot less, but I've never heard of this one. Ultra Human is the one I'm saving for. We were talking about the concepts we were researching, and if anybody has any recommendations for us, we are researching cameras, security cameras, security systems. And there are some that come with subscriptions and some that don't. And the pros and cons in general of like having a subscription means like that can pay for the upgrade to the software behind the scenes, like those kinds of things. I don't know. We have not decided on one yet and have not ordered one, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking for your suggestions. But if you have one that you like, I also feel like sometimes we get to the point with things that I'm like, is it worth our time to do this much research? Or is it worth our time to just pick one and use that time more wisely somewhere else? I feel like that's common. Okay, phone. Oh my gosh. My parents have the Simply Safe cameras and do the monitor yourself option free, but there's an option for them to monitor. Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like, yeah, are they monitoring it or do you monitor it? And then some of our neighbors have them. And so then I'm like, do we also need one? But yes, that's, I don't know. All right. There's 5 minutes left. Wow. What did we even talk about today? Any other questions? Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for hanging out. Different time, different place next week. Blink, there is no monthly subscription and you can pull it up on your phone. It's cool. I don't actually know the names of all of them except Ring because that's what my parents have. Sam's the one that like did all the research. So he's got all the information. So I don't even know what the other ones are called, to be totally honest. Okay. If you are still here, what is the one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? My one thing, are you ready for it? Because it's the same thing as last 2 weeks, is to do 5 minutes of creative time. I still haven't done this, but I put my coloring book downstairs and I'm hoping that will help other than where it was living. Now, the irony is because it was living here in the bedroom, but I didn't have a desk. And so I thought I was going to do it in bed. Like, no, I need like a table. So I moved it downstairs to the dining room table and I still haven't done it yet, but fingers crossed. I'm also tackling this differently in March to make a little bit more progress. But I want to hear from you. If you are here live, still say hello in the chat. And what is the one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? And if you are part of the replay fam, please share in the comments. Check with your homeowner's policy to see if they have discounts. That's a good idea. I also don't know who that's through because Sam did that. Set up 2 friend dates for the next few weeks. I love it. Doctors and dentist appointments. Going to work out at least once, but the best goal is 3 times. Small amounts add up. So whether it's once or 3 times, but 5 minutes a piece, it all counts. And we're working on that momentum, right? All right. Thank you all for hanging out. If you made it all the way to the end, I would love for you to comment with the coffee emoji. I knew I was going to talk a lot about coffee in this episode, in this video. So good. Thank you for hanging out. I will see all of you next week.